All right, welcome everyone to the third final of the Quiz World series. We've got, I think everyone should be a familiar face here. So just before we get started, I just want to say thanks to everyone who wrote questions, read questions, moderated games, or played or edited this season. Couldn't do it without you. And yeah, as ever, we've got Evan Lynch in seat 1. Jonathan Gibson in seat 2.
Hello.
Dan Burgess in seat 3.
Howdy.
And Jakob Myers in seat 4.
Hello.
Great. So that out of the way. So good luck, everyone. And everyone keep hands on screen. We can get going with round 1. Question 1 is for Evan. So I'll display questions, of course, as always. So question 1. Developed by OpenAI, the bot ChatGPT learned to mimic spoken language through the application of what field of linguistics and computer science, which aims to improve the ability of computers to understand text. Subfield is often known by a 3-letter initialism.
NLP.
Correct, yeah, or natural language processing. Question 2. While the phrase, "the face that launched 1,000 ships," is credited to Christopher Marlowe, an earlier version appears in which writer's Dialogues of the Dead? In the early novel A True Story, this Syria-born author told the very untrue tale of his journey beyond the Pillars of Hercules.
Lucian of Samosata.
Correct. Lucian of
Nice.
Samosata.
Very good.
And question 3. Edge species are animals that are both evolutionarily distinct and globally endangered. Which edge species is the world's largest amphibian? Ten seconds.
Salamander.
Prompt.
The
Answer, please.
the Gila monster.
No. Jonathan?
Pass.
Dan?
Pass.
Jakob?
Pass.
It's the Chinese giant salamander.
Silly me.
And question 1 for Jonathan. Who is the only person to have represented Jordan at the Winter Olympics? This man's ex-wife, Yolanda, has since married and divorced the record producer, David Foster.
King Hussein of Jordan?
No. Dan? Jakob?
Pass.
Evan?
Hadid.
Correct, yes. Mohammed Hadid,
right.
father of the models.
Yeah.
Question 2. A host of downhill events in the 2021-22 FIS Alpine World Cup, which ski resort in Canada is named for a lake located in Banff National Park?
Whistler?
Rob? Dan?
Picture it. I can't remember the name. Pass.
Jakob?
Lake Louise?
That's the one. Yep, correct. Lake Louise. And question 3 for Jonathan. Hiroshige illustrated 53 scenes along the Tokaido, a road connecting Tokyo and Kyoto. The starting point for the road was what bridge in Tokyo, which serves as the hub for the city's financial industry? Construction for the 1964 Olympics obscured the treasured view of Mount Fuji from this bridge.
Pass.
Dan?
Pass.
Jacob?
Pass.
Evan?
Pass.
It's the Nihon Bashi. And question 1 for Dan. The sculptor Magdalena Abakanowicz created Agora, a set of 106 armless, headless iron figures for Grant Park in what city? Alexander Calder's Flamingo and a jungle gym-like piece known as the Picasso are also found in this city.
Chicago.
Correct.
I scored a
Question two.
point. I've reached my goal for the quiz.
Very good. Question 2. Which psychologist popularized the idea of the small world phenomenon with a 1967 experiment involving sending letters?
Ainsworth.
No. Jonathan?
Pass.
Jacob?
I used to know this, but don't. Pass.
Evan?
Milgram.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, right.
And question 3 for Dan. A co-founder of the publishing house A&B, Margaret Busby created the anthology Daughters of Africa to popularize women authors from Africa and the African diaspora. The anthology included the short story Two Sisters by what Ghanaian novelist? In the novel Our Sister Killjoy, this author wrote about Sissy, who was unimpressed by the integration attempts of her fellow immigrants in Germany.
Pass.
Jonathan?
Pass.
Jacob?
I'll pass too.
Evan?
I'll pass.
Sure, that's Ama Ata Aidu.
Ah,
And question 1 for Jacob. The song with the full title, Several Species of Small Furry Animals Gathered Together in a Cave and Grooving with a Pict, is found on the album Amagama by which English rock band?
this is Pink Floyd, right?
This is Pink Floyd, correct. Question 2. The headland of Ras Shamra in Syria is home to what ancient port city? The legend of Keret and the tale of Akkad are recorded in texts found in this city.
Amarna.
No. Jonathan?
Pass.
Dan?
Yeah, pass.
Evan?
Ugarit.
Correct. Ugarit.
Ah,
And question 3. What 2003 film concerns the closure of a movie theater in Taipei and its screening of a classic wuxia film? Martial arts actor Miao Tian appears as himself in this film.
crap. A Brighter Summer Day.
No. Jonathan?
Goodbye, Dragon Inn.
Correct.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Dragon Inn. Yeah,
Now
one of the
I've
few
got- now I've
films.
got one.
Yeah, one of the few films listed by its own director on the Slide and Sound poll. So after round 1, Evan on 5, Jacob on 2, Jonathan and Dan on 1. And round 2, question 1 for Evan. According to Rate Your Music, the 4th highest rated indie pop album of 2022 is And in the Darkness, Hearts Aglow, the latest release by what act? Vocalist Natalie Laura Mehring has released several albums under this name.
Mitski.
Wrong. Dan?
Pass.
Jonathan?
Pass.
Jacob?
Wise Blood.
Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Question 2 for Evan. Yeah, Wise Blood's right. And question 2. Which Qatari businessman is the chairman of the Be In Media Group? This president of Paris Saint-Germain has been described as the most powerful man in French football.
Al-Khalifi.
Correct. Nasser Al-Khalifi.
Good.
And question 3. The small world phenomenon led to the creation of both Erdos and Bacon numbers, which measure collaboration distances. Which actress has a Bacon-Erdos number of 7, due to publishing an academic paper titled Frontal Lobe Activation During Object Permanence?
Portman.
Correct. Just give Jacob
Sorry, my
a
internet's
okay.
not great here.
No worries. Hopefully it holds up. All right, so questions for Jonathan now. Cecilia Lisbon dies after falling onto a fence in what 1999 film? The band Air produced the track Playground Love for the acclaimed soundtrack of this film.
Virgin Suicides. Virgin Suicides.
Correct. Virgin Suicides. And question 2. The T in Chat GPT stands for transformer, which is essentially a variety of what type of structure, formed of many interconnected units that often have an activation function added to them. A perceptron is an early form of one of these structures.
Neural network.
Correct. And question 3. Daughters of Africa included an excerpt from The Joys of Motherhood, a novel by what Nigerian author, who often published with A and B. For her novel Second Class Citizen, this author used her own experience as an aspiring writer moving to London.
No, I've no idea. Pass.
Dan?
Yeah, pass.
Jacob?
Pass.
Evan?
Emma Cheta.
Correct. Bucci.
Nice.
And question 1 for Dan. Noted for his elegance, what footballer earned the nickname the non-flying Dutchman because he refused to travel by plane?
Bergkamp.
Correct, Dennis Bergkamp. Question 2. A 156-word album title, often shortened to The Boy Bands Have Won, was released in 2008 by which English rock band? This band's biggest hit was a 1997 single that repeats the line, he sings the songs that remind him of the good times.
Chumbawamba.
Correct. And question 3. In The Dialogues of the Dead by Lucian, what character fights with Charon because he does not have the obols to be ferried across the Styx? As well as delivering the line about Helen, this cynic philosopher names a genre of satire that is characterized by criticism of attitudes rather than personal foibles.
Menippus.
Correct. Yeah, it's in nippy and satire. And question 1 for Jacob. Among the most notable edge species is Attenborough's long-beaked variety of what creatures? These 3 species of this animal in the family Tachyglossidae are found only on New Guinea.
Anteaters.
No. Dan?
Birds of Paradise.
Ron? Jonathan?
Hummingbirds.
No. Evan?
Echidna.
Echidna, correct. Yeah, I could have taken spiky anteater, but can't prompt on just anteater, I think.
Fine.
Question 2. A host of downhill events in the 2021-2022 FIS Alpine World Cup, which European ski resort is home to the Strife Run, located on the Hahnenkamm mountain.
Garmisch-Partenkirchen.
No. Dan?
Oh, pass.
Jonathan?
Pass.
Evan?
Kitzbühel.
Say again, please.
Kitzbühel.
Yeah, Kitzbühel, sorry. And question 3 for Jacob. The longest stretch of the Tokaido was in which modern Japanese prefecture? Mount Fuji and the Suzuka Racecourse are both located in this prefecture, whose largest city, Hamamatsu, is famous for its eel pies.
Hmm. Key.
No. Dan,
Pass.
Jonathan,
Pass.
Evan.
Pass.
It's Shizuoka. So after 2 rounds,
Mm.
everyone's got 1x. Evan on 10, Dan on 4, Jonathan and Jacob on 3.
Evan's world, and we're all just living in it.
Long way to go.
Round 3, question 1 for Evan. Let's see if this one stumps you. You probably couldn't see for the lights, but you were staring at me.
Unbelievable.
The 2006 song by which British rock band? The song was featured on this band's debut album, which also included songs like Dancing Shoes and From the Ritz to the Rubble, as well as Mardy Bum.
These are the Arctic Monkeys.
Okay, well, if you're getting questions like that, you're going to be hard to
Yeah, that was perfectly timed.
I could see what was next. So yeah. Question 2. In what 1945 film does Ingrid Bergman analyze Gregory Peck, discovering that he had impersonated a psychologist due to guilt from fatally pushing his brother onto a spiked fence? Ten seconds.
I don't feel good about it, but Persona.
Wrong.
No.
Dan?
Spellbound.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice.
There's psychiatrists in that. And question 3. Evan. Milwaukee is home to a set of sculptures by Abercanowitz titled For What Things? Of Knowledge of Good and Evil. In 2005, a sculpture of one of these things by Konstantin Bramkush sold for a record fee of almost $30 million.
Um,
10 seconds.
a tree.
No. Jonathan?
Pass.
Dan?
Yeah, I'll pass.
Jacob?
Pass.
It is just birds.
Oh,
Is it?
shit.
It didn't make any sense for the first title. Damn it. Okay.
yeah.
I had a few options, and that was a long way down the list.
I was like, that's his most famous sculpture, but Bird of Knowledge of Good and Evil makes no sense. Oh well.
Yeah.
No, take it up with Abercanowitz, I
Oh,
guess.
Yeah.
And question 1 for Jonathan. Discovered in Ugarit, the oldest surviving set of notated music was composed in what language? Used to compose the cult hymn to Nikal. This language related to Urartu was spoken in the Mitanni kingdom.
Hittite.
Wrong. Dan?
Pass.
Jacob?
Hurrian.
Correct. Hurrian. That's right. Question 2 for Jonathan. The third highest rated indie pop album of 2022, according to Rate Your Music, Blue Rev is the latest record by what band? Led by vocalist Molly Rankin. The debut album by this band featured the track Marry Me Archie. And the images of the debut album.
Always. Or always.
Correct. Yeah, it's pronounced always, but that's correct. And question 3. Which bird found in New Caledonia appears near the top of the list of edge bird species? These white birds have unusual corn-shaped flaps covering their nostrils.
This isn't the bird of paradise, is it?
No, afraid not. Dan,
I don't know. Pass.
Jacob,
Pass.
Evan.
Pass.
That's the Kagu, Kagu. And question 1 for Dan. Chat GPT was trained using a form of learning known by what word, which distinguishes it from supervised and unsupervised learning in computer science. In psychology, this word is a basic term in behaviorism, where it is categorized into negative and positive forms.
Reinforcement.
Correct. I shall positively reinforce your knowledge by giving you a point. And question 2. A host of downhill events in the 2021-22 FIS Alpine World Cup, which ski resort is part of the famous Three Valleys in France, along with Maribel and Val Thorens.
Chamonix.
Wrong. Jonathan?
Val d'Isère.
No. Jacob?
Pass.
Evan?
Pass.
That's Courchevel. And question 3. Tsai Ming Liang's Goodbye Dragon Inn is titled in reference to a film by what legendary wuxia director of the 1960s and 70s?
Can I name a single wuxia director from the 60s and 70s? All right, let's try Lucky Lee.
Wrong. Jacob?
Is this King Hu?
Correct. It is
Well done.
King Hu or Hu Zhenchuan. And that's right. And question 1 for you, Jacob. 6 Degrees of Separation is the title of a 2004 episode from the reimagined series of what TV franchise, which features Cylons. The original version of this TV show ran for 1 season in 1978, but was cancelled despite its massive cult appeal.
This is Battlestar Galactica, right?
That is right, yes. And question 2. Because of his German heritage, what legendary baseball player had the nickname the Flying Dutchman? This man won the National League batting title 8 times between 1900 and 1911, and is depicted on an incredibly expensive baseball card from the T206 set.
Honest Wagner.
Yeah, that's right. And question 3. In the Dialogues of the Dead, Diogenes mocks which man, arguing that he wasn't in fact the son of a god, because then he would still be alive. In a famous anecdote, Diogenes said to this man that I am searching for the bones of your father, but cannot distinguish them from those of a slave.
Alexander.
Prompt.
Sorry, was that a prompt?
Yeah, sorry, prompt.
The Great.
Yeah. I mean, sort of perfunctory prompt, but yes. So gap closes between Evan on 11 and second place Jacob on 8, Dan on 6, Jonathan on 4. Round 4, question 1 for Evan. Texts from Ugarit and texts in the Hurrian language were found in what corpus around 1887 AD? The line, when an ant is pinched, does it not fight back, is recorded in this set of texts produced during the New Kingdom.
The Amana letters.
Correct. Question 2. The last of the 53 stations of the Tokaido was in which city? The capital of Shiga Prefecture. The Enryaku-ji temple is in this city, where Tsar Nicholas II was nearly assassinated after a day trip to Lake Biwa. Ten seconds.
Yokohama.
Wrong. Dan?
Pass.
Jonathan?
Us.
Jacob?
I used to know both of these clues, so I'll pass.
It is Otsu, OTSU. And question 3. Nicknamed the Flying Dutchman, the jockey Charles Kurtzinger won the American Triple Crown on what horse in 1937? This son of Man O' War took part in a legendary match race against Seabiscuit in 1938.
War Admiral.
Correct, yeah. War.
Nice.
Question 1 for Jonathan. In the Dialogues of the Dead, who is mocked by Menippus before his argument with Charon? This man was the founder of the cursed house of Atreus and the grandfather of Atreus himself. Ten seconds. Answer, please.
Helios.
Say again, sorry?
Helios.
No, afraid not. Dan,
Pass.
Jacob,
Pass.
Evan?
Tantalus.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Sure.
And question 2. In her early career, Abakanowitz refused to work within the constraints of what official art style of the Soviet Union? Known by a 2-word name referring to a political system, this style featured ideological art depicting liberated workers and heroic politicians. Ten seconds.
Socialist modernism.
No. Dan,
Pass.
Jacob?
Socialist realism.
That's right. Unlucky. And question 3 for you. King Hu was honored at Cannes in 1975 for his work on what film? Inspired by a story by Pu Songling. In this 1971 film, a bumbling painter assists Yang in her attempts to escape from the villainous Su and Wei.
Uh, Drunken Master.
No. Dan,
Pass.
Jacob,
Yeah, I'm not confident enough. Pass.
Evan?
Pass.
That's A Touch of Zen. And question 1.
God damn it, it was that.
Yeah, I think the first Chinese film to be honored at Cannes or something along those lines. And question 1 for Dan. Qatari businesswoman Sheikha Al Mayasa is considered one of the most influential people in what industry, frequently topping industry power lists. Manuela Vert and Cecilia Alamani are also influential voices in this industry.
Fashion.
Say again, sorry?
Fashion.
No. Jonathan?
Pass.
Jacob?
Pass.
Evan?
I'll pass.
It's art or museums or gallery, anything along those lines.
Okay.
Hmm.
And question 2. The highest ranked of all edge species is the large-tooth variety of what members of the ray family? These animals are endangered due to demand in traditional Chinese medicine for their large rostrums, which are lined with teeth.
Manta Ray.
No. Jonathan,
Pass.
Jacob,
Pass.
Evan.
Pass.
Is that sawfish? And question
Oh,
3.
of course.
Yeah.
And
And
they're
question 3.
rays. Okay.
Yeah, their body is quite really like. And question 3 for you. The second highest rated indie pop album of 2022, according to Rate Your Music, Dragon New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You, is by what band? The lead vocalist of this band, Adrian Lenker, sang I'll Be Your Record Player on the song Paul.
Oh, I feel old. Soccer mommy.
Afraid not. Jonathan?
Big Thief.
Correct. Big. That's right.
Oh, of course. Jeez.
And question 1 for Jacob. Daughters of Africa included an excerpt from the novel A Season in Rahata by what Caribbean author? Angela Davis wrote the foreword for the English edition of this author's historical novel, I, Tituba, Black Witch of Salem.
Conde.
Correct, Maurice Condé. Question 2. In building ChatGPT, OpenAI developed a new variety of reinforcement learning algorithm, named for the proximal policy variety of what process? This process shares its name with a class of mathematical problem that involves finding the maximum or minimum of a given function.
It's been too long since I took calculus. Proximal policy.
10 seconds. Answer, please.
Narrowing, I don't know.
If not, Dan,
Pass.
Jonathan?
Optimization.
Correct.
Yeah. Ugh.
And final question of the round for Jacob. In which Alex Garland film does Papa Essiedu play James Marlowe, an abusive partner who impales himself on a fence? The motif of a cleft hand appears in the form of a green man, one of many characters played by Rory Kinnear in this film.
Pass.
Dan?
Pass.
Jonathan?
Men.
Correct.
Nice.
Feeling a strong round for Jonathan. So going to the final round, Evan on 14, Jacob 10, Jonathan 7 and 6. And round 5, question 1 for Evan. A host of downhill events in the 2021-22 FIS Alpine World Cup, which French ski resort was the site of the men's downhill for the Albertville Winter Olympics. With Teen, this resort forms an area once known as the Espace Killy, named for the skier Jean-Claude Killy.
Maybe this
10
is
seconds.
Balthazar.
It's Valdezar. Question 2. What surname is shared by 2 authors included in Daughters of Africa? One, an American who wrote the short story Esinansa. The other, the Trinidadian founder of the first major black newspaper in Britain, the West Indian Gazette. While working at Random House, Toni Morrison edited Corregidora, the debut novel of the American author with this surname. 10 seconds.
Anvil.
No. Dan,
Pass.
Jacob,
Pass.
Jonathan.
Pass.
If I told you their four names are Gail and Claudia, it's Jones. It's in Claudia Jones, founder of the Notting Hill Carnival, and also the West Indian Gazette. And question 3 for Evan. In 1997, King Hu shared the Golden Horse Lifetime Achievement Award with Li Hanxiang and what other director? This director helped Bruce Lee to reach the American mainstream in the 1970s with the films The Big Boss and Fist of Fury. He directed Jackie Chan in the sequel to the latter film, New Fist of Fury.
Chen.
No. Dan,
Pass.
Jacob,
Pass.
Jonathan.
Pass.
That's a Lo Wei. And question 1 for Jonathan. The tennis player Tom Ocker had the nickname the Flying Dutchman and won the 1973 French Open doubles, playing alongside what Australian star? Despite never reaching a French Open semi-final, this man won 7 singles Grand Slams and 17 doubles Grand Slams, mostly playing alongside Tony Roche.
Yeah, good question. I'll try Newcomb.
That's the right one, correct?
Nice.
And question 2. Which writer further popularized the concept of 6 degrees of separation in a book that outlines the law of the few, in which people are categorized as mavens, connectors, or salesmen? In that 2000 book about how ideas spread, this writer advocated for the broken windows theory of crime reduction.
Gladwell.
Correct, yeah, that's the tipping point. And question 3. My Cosmic Autumn Rebellion, the inner life as blazing shield of defiance and optimism as celestial spear of action, is a song by which American psychedelic rock band? Wayne Coyne is the lead singer of this band, who had a hit in 1993 with the single She Don't Use Jelly.
Flaming Lips.
Correct. And question 1 for Dan. For the earliest known naval battle, Amurapi of Ugarit provided ships to a Hittite king of what name? The first Hittite king of this name conquered portions of Syria during the tumultuous reign of the pharaoh Akhenaten.
Pass.
Jacob?
Muatalis.
No. Jonathan?
Pass.
Evan?
Telepinu.
No, it's the other name, Supi Lulumia. Supi Lulumia. That would have been, yeah. Yes. Generous pronunciation, that's the one. Question 2. 4 stops were added to connect the Tokaido to Osaka. Where was the 54th station of the Tokaido? This southernmost ward of Kyoto is known for its shrine to Inari, which features a path lined with thousands of torii gates.
Heian.
No. Jacob?
Pass. Good game, Evan.
Jonathan, sorry.
Pass.
Evan?
Pass.
That's Fushimi, the Fushimi Inari. And question 3. In 1982, what French-German actress died, perhaps due to grief, after her son had fatally fallen on a fence the previous year? After starring as an empress in the Sisi trilogy of films, this actress took on more mature roles in films such as The Trial and The Swimming Pool.
Why should this question be different than most of the other ones? Pass.
Jacob?
Pass.
Jonathan?
Sayrig.
No. Evan?
Pass.
That's Romy Schneider.
Okay.
And final trilogy for Jacob. The highest rated indie pop album of 2022, according to Rate Your Music, Ants from Up There, is by what band? It features vocals from May Kershaw and Georgia Ellery. This band is named for a route through the West Midlands in England.
Black Country New Road.
Correct. Question 2. Aberkanowitz gave the title Abercans to a series of her works in what medium? Sheila Hicks is a contemporary artist in this medium, while Bauhaus teachers who specialized in this medium include Annie Albers and Gunther Stelzel.
Glass.
Wrong. Dan,
Pass.
Jonathan,
Apply textiles.
that's the one.
Yes.
Oh, lovely. And final question. The Monopoly-style board game Triad International showcases the holdings of what Saudi businessman, the brother-in-law of Mohammed Al-Fayed. This man owns the Nabila yacht and extensive land in Utah, although he is prevented from owning the Jazz due to concerns around money laundering.
Khashoggi.
Correct, yeah. Adnan
Oh,
Khashoggi.
nice.
So final scores: Evan, strong performance, taking first with 15, Jacob second with 12, Jonathan third with 11, and Dan, I think, got the brutal seat, finishing with 6 points.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations.
well played, everyone.
Passing around everybody else's
Congratulations.
questions, just not my set. Well done,
Yeah.
Evan.
Yeah, well played.
Thanks.
Yeah,
That was a good
thanks,
game.
Evan.